Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system, but it's still a lot smaller than the Sun. But the Sun doesn't count because that's not a planet. The Sun is a star. Jupiter is also the planet that has the largest amount of moons. It actually has 67 moons or even more as they're discovered and as we get more and brighter telescopes pointed towards the planet. Jupiter is the first of the gas planet and number 5 from the Sun. And because it's made of gas, that means that you can't land on the surface of Jupiter. It doesn't have any solid surface. But besides that, huge storms are constantly raging on the surface of the planet, so it wouldn't be a very hospitable environment even if it was possible to land there. Even though Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system, then we don't know very much about this planet. In 1987, we sent a space probe towards the planet, and 6 years later, in 1995, it arrived. Since the arrival of the space probe, it has taken pictures and conducted a lot of scientific experiments up there, all by itself, and sent the resulting data back to Earth. But in 2003, it had no more fuel left, or just a very little bit. And they used the last bit of fuel, to turn it towards Jupiter and fly it into the surface of the planet. And during this last final mission, it sent back some critical data, so we knew what was going on under the surface of the planet. What Galileo figured out during its descent towards Jupiter was that the planet is extremely radioactive. It's actually so radioactive that if you come closer than 300,000 kilometers, you die more or less instantly. It also managed to discover that the pressure under the surface of Jupiter was incredibly high, and any spaceship would be crushed before going further than 150 kilometers past the initial surface. And besides that, Jupiter is extremely hot. The probe managed to measure temperatures reaching 151 degrees Celsius. Very hot, hotter than any human could survive. Let's imagine that we built a spaceship just like a submarine, and it could actually withstand the pressure of the planet. Then it couldn't just travel straight through it, because we think that Jupiter has a solid core made of iron and other metals. Jupiter has a lot of moons, and their names differ a lot. Some of the most prominent ones are called Callisto, Ganymede, Io, and Europa. And especially Europa is interesting, because the surface of Europa is frozen solid, but we think there might actually be liquid water below the surface. And liquid water means that life might have formed on the moon. The moon Ganymede is also quite interesting, because this moon is actually larger than the smallest planet in our solar system, Mercury. But because Ganymede is in orbit around Jupiter, then we can't call it a planet, because one of the requirements of being called a planet is that you are in orbit around the Sun. So Ganymede will forever be a moon to Jupiter, but it will always be larger than the smallest planet of our solar system. Jupiter is the planet that revolves around itself the fastest, and it actually only takes it 10 hours to turn once around its own axis. But even though Jupiter turns around its own axis very fast, and as such has very short days, it's still very slow at getting one time around the Sun in its orbit, because this actually takes 11 years and 11 months to complete, and that makes it one of the slower planets to go all the way around the Sun, at least compared to the rocky planets in our solar system. Jupiter is like most of the other planets in our solar system, named after Roman mythology. And in Roman mythology, Jupiter was the king of all the other gods, and at the same time he was also a god for the sky and thunder.